You're tuned in to the most shadow banned man in the land. I'm hoping that this will be the long-awaited marathon day. We'll see how it goes. I'm a bit tired. I got off of work at 2 a.m. last night, and I didn't get to sleep until probably past 3, maybe even 4, and I woke up around 8-ish. So I'm going to try to stay as sharp and as lucid as I can while I make these videos today. And in addition to that, I will also be, I think I'm going to start a blog because apparently my website even got taken down. So that's not good. I'll see if I can get in touch with the people to reestablish it, but I wasn't getting much traction anyway on the website, and nobody subscribed to the newsletter, which I understand. There's not a lot of money around these days for average people, especially people who are truth seekers. And in addition to that, a lot of people don't read print media anymore. But it was just a way of that I wanted to legitimately raise funds for doing this. But perhaps I had to just continue to do this and voluntary basis, get some donations here and there, but because I won't be trying to sell you anything like our friend at InfoWars, Alex Jones. Speaking of him, I'm glad he finally totally outed himself as just another typical Republican. I mean, if there's one thing that this Trump presidency did a good job at is exposing the fake alternative media, because as soon as he came on the scene, everybody threw in their lot with him, and look where it's gotten them. Look at where the country has gone in the world, for that matter. You had this guy who, and now he's lying about keeping his campaign promises. He didn't bring the troops back home. He's trying to pretend that he did. And what they're doing as a gimmick now is reducing the troop levels in Iraq and Afghanistan in a minuscule way. I think they said it was around like maybe 3,000 people in Afghanistan, and it's going down to maybe 2,000 or a little less or a little more, and ditto for Iraq. So he didn't do that. He didn't make America great again. You know, the list goes on. I've talked about his failings. Only people he did succeed for was Israel. He definitely made Israel great again. And if anyone was paying attention, especially to me, even though it might have a small following, but there were others out there in the alternative media who was calling him out from the beginning. Not many, but there was some. Richie Allen being one of them. Even though I don't agree with Richie Allen about everything, he claims he's a socialist, but when you hear him talk, sometimes it makes it hard to believe that. But Richie Allen was definitely one of them. David Icke was another. And despite the whole reptilian thing, he does have a lot of thoughtful things to say and good information regarding certain topics. He let us know before there was a Pizzagate to get all the Trump supporters riled up into supporting QAnon. David Icke was already exposing, especially in the Anglophone, these elite pedophiles and their networks. He called out some people that, and now that it's hindsight, everybody knows, Jimmy Savile. But he was doing it when it wasn't popular. But back to Trump and his whole "Make America Great Again" thing. It's not working so well. And again, that's mostly due to the fact that we have this country here that's actually controlled by, first and foremost, by Israel and Israel's state religion. And when they're not in control, you do have private tyrannies, these corporations and other business interests private tyrannies. And the funny thing about the right is that they claim they're against tyranny and oppression and big government and all these other sort of things, but for them it all depends on who's doing it. You know, they're totally okay when the tyranny and oppression is coming from private individuals, seemingly. They have no problem with it then. But when it comes from governments, that's the only time they have an issue with it. Me, on the other hand, I have a problem with tyranny no matter where it's coming from. I think that we the people, especially in the modern age, we have a high rate of at least semi-literate people. We know that we could do much better. And another thing that this whole situation has proven right is the fact that I said this in the past too, that, you know, this money, and I'm not the only one who says this, but I'm the only one who can apply it rationally, seemingly. This money that that they say that they're worried about in terms of, oh, we have to watch government spending, we're going to be in debt, and all these other rationales that they come out with as to why we can't live in a decent society where there's an actual floor that you can't fall beneath, at the very least. You know, I think we could do even better than that. But one of the excuses that they make is that, oh, you know, the government, you know, this money, they pretend as if the money is in short supply when the money's backed by nothing, and all they have to do is print it or just create it digitally into existence and distribute it. That's been proven by this whole COVID-19 thing, has proven once and for all that if there was a will and if they wanted to, the government could just, you know, issue money to, and you know, don't take my word for it. There's also a alternative media personality / author from Canada who used to be much more sane than he is now, but his name is Stefan Verstappen. Now Verstappen, in one of his videos, he's a conservative, by the way, but this was years ago. This was around, I think, 2016 to 2017, where Stefan Verstappen demonstrated that for the price of, and this was at that time, the price for the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, with that $2 trillion, they could have built a house for everyone in the United States of America. Watching out for snakes or anything. This grass is kind of high. But for the prices they spent on that ridiculous and ruinous war, that, you know, in hindsight, we know that the cause of the war, the causus bellum, I believe the Latin term is, we know that it was a farce. We know now that Iraq had no WMDs, yet we've been in that country now. It'll be 20 years there as well. Afghanistan is approaching 20 years, but so is Iraq. So if 3 years from now, if we're still in Iraq, that'll be 2 decades of having United States soldiers in Iraq. But we know now that that war was really for, just like the wars that our friend over there in Tel Aviv, Ben Natay, or Jerusalem, I should say, because that's where the capital is now, thanks to Trump. But Ben Natay actually wants a war with Iran next, and the other, they want to finish off Syria to where Bashar al-Assad is gone, and they want Iran gone, because those countries want to list Lebanon. They've done a good job of bringing Lebanon to its knees. So the last domino that they need to fall, they've broken Sudan. So the last domino that needs to fall is Iran. And mark my words, definitely if Trump gets another 4 years, there will be a war against Iran. Trump is so subservient and slavish to Ben Natay and company that he probably sell his kids to them and for medical experiments. I mean, He'll do anything. He'll do anything for him. But with all that being said, we know that for the price, going back to Stefan Verstappen, the price of those two wars, they could have built a house for every American. I believe it was Stefan Verstappen said a 2-bedroom house with a front and backyard and a 2-car garage even. This is according to Stefan Verstappen now. So instead of spending that $2 trillion on something like that, you see what they spent it on, and you see what they just did with this recent bailout. You know, you had the Obama bailout in '08, and you had supposed capitalists and conservatives complaining about it, saying that, oh, you know, this is crony capitalism or fake capitalism or corporate they have all these hyphenated capitalisms when it's really the nature of capitalism. All one has to do is think cogently, and then you'll realize that under any strain of capitalism, it's always going to run amok. You're always going to end up in a situation where very few own almost everything, and everybody else is left hanging out to dry, which is why I'm against it. But there are not enough people like me yet to really go for an alternative. So here we are, we're stuck with it. But this is the world that they wanted, and they're getting it. We the people, are still divided along traditional lines of ethnicity, made up lines like race. Religion still plays a factor, mostly in Asia and in certain communities here in the United States. But for the most part, the Europeans have done a very good job at secularizing and actually making politics there more about, what's in it for we the people, which is why most of their societies are better, which is why the people from Jerusalem, Ben Netanyahu, also known as Netanyahu, real name Malachowski, this is why they are trying to destroy Europe with mass migration, so they can create conflict within the society, so the people have distractions. And so imagine you can't fight for your economic rights and for your well-being and for your share of the pie if you're busy defending yourself and your way of life from foreigners. And this is not to beat up on the foreigners either, because again, with capitalism, you need markets, and capitalism requires slavery, and it also requires imperialism. And V.I. Lenin did a good job of explaining that, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but I mean, a fact's a fact. I don't care where it comes from. But he did a good job in his writings demonstrating why imperialism is necessary for capitalism, which is why one of the things that World War I is known as is the inter-imperialist war. You had all these capitalist, some monarchies and some republics, but they were all market-based economies fighting it out for global domination. And as we can see, the Anglophone won because the Anglophone is the tribe's best friend. These darn gnats. But I'm going to conclude this video right here. Thanks for watching. God willing, I'll see you in another one.